story time. I'm going to tell you about the craziest day of my life. I went to the museum on drugs. Now, it started out as one of the worst days of my life. And by the time I left the museum, it was one of the most beautiful and profound experiences of my entire time on this planet Earth. It was so you'll see me glance over there sometimes because I keep trip reports. When did I take it? Where did I go? How much did I take? And what did I learn? I just write everything down, being very scientific. Not really, but you want to keep the learnings. On that particular day, took 40 grams of fresh truffles. Usually I take mushrooms. I didn't have any, so I took truffles. I have 15 gram of Atlantis and 25 gram of Hawaiian truffles. Went to the bathroom in the museum, munched them all. I do not like truffles, actually. Mushrooms are way better. Actually, now I get a gag reflex. I do the lemon tech technique because I can't swallow it. It's just, ugh. But then I remember the good times I had. So I went to the bathroom, took 40 grams of fresh truffles. Then I went to the locker room, put all my stuff away. That's really important because sometimes you're so disoriented. You're like, where the heck am I? Which happened in this museum, actually. So good thing I put everything away. The only thing I had were my keys, the keys for the locker, my phone, and headphones, noise-canceling headphones. The drugs kick in. Well, first I walk through the museum, everything is fine. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be really nice. Then the drugs hit, and they hit hard. And they hit me to an extent where I was like, where the heck am I? What am I doing here? I was so confused. Why am I here? Why am I here? And I knew, like my wife said, okay, at 2 p.m. we're gonna meet in a restaurant because there was a party, and I was gonna go to a party afterwards. So it was like, okay, at 2 p.m. there is something. Wife, okay, what am I doing here? So the only thing I knew, what am I doing here? Well, I didn't know, and I have to leave at 2. That's all I had on my mind. I was like very confused, and it was like a thought loop. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? I have to get out of here. And then I heard a creaking. It was, I still remember that noise. It was terrible. I walked through the museum, and wherever I went, I heard like a creaking. And I was like, I took off it was noise canceling headphones with soft music in the background because I knew it was going to be overwhelming. Usually I trip in the forest or at home. A museum is a lot of stimuli, and it can get crazy, especially that day the museum was packed. So I thought, okay, this is just to keep focus, to limit the stimuli from the outside. It didn't work. I took off the headphones and I'm like, is no one else hearing that? Is no one else hearing that? It's so loud. It was the wooden floor. People walking on the wooden floor. So many people walking and walking. It was creaking. And it was like, why is it so loud? Is no one else hearing that? Was terrible. It was a deafening sound. It was so annoying. And I was trying to run through the museum to escape the sound. I have no idea what I was trying to do. Part of me wanted to leave the museum, but maybe half-heartedly because I kind of knew where the exit was. I was just going through. It felt like a maze. The whole museum felt like a maze. I was going through all the... And it felt tiny because they're big rooms, but I got caught in tiny. And from this room and the next room and the next room, I walked around for half an hour, an hour. I have no idea. I have no sense of time. It felt like being trapped in the museum. I had no idea why I was there. I thought I'm crazy for being here. I wanted to leave. And I kept going through, it felt like a maze, and it was so loud. It was so overwhelming. I told you, it was one of the greatest days of my life. So something is gonna happen. It was one of the greatest days of my life, but it felt terrible at the time. It felt terrible. And I have no idea what happened. I sat down at some stage and I was like, okay, we need to calm down. Okay, let's focus on the artwork. Let's focus on the artwork. Because I'm the creative type. I write a newsletter every day. I write spiritual writing. By the way, subscribe below. Some of them are written on drugs, actually. and and I wanted to go to the museum to understand the creative process, to be inspired by the artwork. So I was like, okay, let's look at the artwork. And I looked and I was like, it's moving. The art is, and my brain was kind of weird because like, maybe it's always moving. No, no, no. You are on drugs. And then I look at the picture from different angles, and one of them had fire, I think, and the flames were moving, and I was like, maybe that's normal. It's like, no, it's not normal. You're on drugs. I was very confused. And I sat down, I calmed down, and suddenly it was very interesting. The artwork did not interest me any longer. I was just not focused, because that's the reason I went there, because I wanted to understand. I see art as letting life flow through you, giving birth to something. The creative process is sacred. You're doing the same thing that God is doing. So I didn't look at the artwork. Doesn't make any sense. What did I look at? I looked at people. And suddenly, people became very beautiful to me. I was stunned at the beauty of the people around me. They looked to me as if they had walked out of the paintings. And it did help that some of the ladies were like really, I still remember a lady like in a red dress and everything. They put in an effort. I was just dressed like, just normal. But some of them really treated it like a stage. And I was like, all the power to you. The world, life is a stage. You dress up for it, fine. And people looked beautiful to me. Absolutely beautiful. Days afterwards, sometimes even, I think it was even weeks afterwards, when I looked at people, I looked at their face and it was like God painted the lines in their face. Their face looked like an artwork to me. And I looked at them. That was after trip, weeks after, I still looked at them and I could imagine them like a painting. So on that day, everyone was absolutely beautiful. No matter the shape, the size, the color, the age, everyone was so beautiful, like an artwork of life. And that stayed with me. It doesn't happen automatically, but I still look at people sometimes and I'm like, they're an artwork. They're a beautiful painting that life has created, an ever-changing painting. And people just became more interesting. I remember sitting down and just looking at someone, and it felt like I was putting myself in that person. We land on Earth. We have no idea where we came from. Absolutely no clue. It's not the 5 minutes of fun your parents had that didn't create you. I looked at people and I could see that all of us, we have this struggle of, am I good enough? Do I even belong here? Worried about our health, about our eventual demise, about losing things that are precious to us. It was great compassion for everyone around me. And I remember it just as I was wondering where we come from, and one day we disappear and we don't know where we disappear to. We just turn to nothing. We have no clue. And I remember sitting down and I looked at a beautiful painting it was a religious imagery. It was like an angel descending. I have no idea what it was. I just looked at it and I broke out in tears. I started crying because as I looked at that painting, I felt viscerally, it was so strong, I felt that the love that brought me into this world is still with me. It has never left me. And I still have that feeling. It was so powerful. Again, just as I was pondering compassion for other humans, in that moment I looked at that image and it was like, we came from a love that brought us here. And this love that brought us here still loves us. It renews our cells, it helps us, it guides us. It felt warm, it felt beautiful, and I was bawling my eyes out in the middle of the museum. I was looking at the picture, crying. I had the headphones on because it was still too much for me. I was crying and crying, and I remember a man looking at me and just like maybe he was thinking, hey, is he okay? And I just looked, I was crying and crying. But it felt like the greatest relief because just like I mentioned before, we come here and we have all these doubts. Do I belong here? Am I alone here? And it felt like in that moment all of that was answered. Not intellectually. I don't know where it came from. I don't have an answer to any of these things. But emotionally, it felt like it was like, you're gonna be okay. You'll be fine. And that feeling stayed with me. That's, for instance, one of those experiences I turned into my newsletter. It was like, the love that brought you into this world is still with you and it still loves you. And I usually put something funny, like just to contrast it, my postscript usually, because I think spirituality is taken way too seriously. Just have fun with it. And those are things that I put into the news. So subscribe below. It comes directly from the heart. I say freshly squeezed from the source, from life itself. That's why it's messages from life. And when I'm on these trips, sometimes I check my phone like, okay, this time. Because I usually in my head, I was like, okay, 2 o'clock, I have to meet with someone. Sometimes I even know it's my wife. But it's like, I have something to do it too. I have something to do it too. So I checked out, okay, it's nearly, okay, gonna leave the museum. First of all, I ran out of the museum. I ran straight out and I threw myself into the lawn that was in front of the museum. I was like, and I was overcome with joy. And suddenly I had this realization of, I'm alive. I'm alive. And first it was like questioning, I'm alive. Oh my God. It was amazement. I'm alive. I can't believe that. And it turned into euphoria. I was like, I'm alive. Yes. And I was on my knees and looking at the sky and everything was so beautiful and bright. And I was celebrating that I'm alive. And then I'm like, wait, I've got all my stuff in the museum. I ran back and I explained to the guy, hey, I still got my stuff in there. Because I didn't have a ticket. Well, I had a ticket. It was validated. And people looked at me. I know that people looked at me because I held the door open. And then people walked out and I looked at them. God, they're so beautiful. And got my stuff. And I usually don't talk to people when I'm on drugs. Sometimes I do. And sometimes it's beautiful. I remember another trip. Not this trip, but another trip. I saw a man pushing a wheelchair and his daughter was terribly handicapped and he was obviously lost. He was a tourist. So I helped him out and I helped, find his way, recommended him, where he could go. That's because I live in Vienna. There's loads of cobblestone streets. It's terrible with a wheelchair. So, I helped him out. It was a beautiful interaction. On that day, for instance, I talked to people, and it's like, sometimes I walked in, you're so beautiful. And I was like, God, shut up, Matthias. You are on drugs. Do not talk to people. People were definitely laughing, but I had one of the greatest days of my life. And I called my wife. I'm like, yeah, where are you? Okay, I'm alive. I was so excited to talk to her. And then I called her again 10 minutes later because I had already forgotten what she had told me. And I just remember I was skipping and running and I was amazed. And the funny thing, it was also really funny because I bought 2 tickets to the museum. That was before I was on drugs. And I was like, what do I do with the second ticket? And she was like, no worries. You can use it whenever you want. Come back whenever you like. And I was like, yeah, I will, because I had a pretty fucking great day. Well, I didn't tell her that. It was like, I loved it. It was beautiful. I had a great day. I will definitely be back. She had no idea what a good day I had in the museum. And to me, when I saw people queuing for the museum, it seemed so bizarre to me that we live on a rock floating in space, and everything we look at is a miracle. Everything is a work of art because it came out of nothing, formed by solar dust, atoms arranging themselves. It's art. The whole planet is art. And on this planet, on this rock, we put up a building that we call museum, and we put other art in there. And we appreciate it. We pay for it. And I was like, the whole planet is an artwork. And I was looking around and I was like, everything is so beautiful. And then I met my friends and my wife and my kid. And when I saw them, I was like, God, they are all so beautiful. And it's funny because, we went for an ice cream. I was playing with the kids. And while I was doing all these things, in my head, it was all the times like, this is so bizarre. This is so weird. I found existence, life, became really bizarre and weird to me. But not in a bad way. I was like, life is beautiful, it's bizarre, it's wonderful, it's strange. But we just wake up, we put on our clothes, we have our routine, we go to work, and we overlook it because we make our, our little schedule, our routine. And then life becomes just another day, just another Monday. Because we've created our little bubble that doesn't permit us to see the strangeness and beauty of life. And to me, it's a beautiful thing to recognize that life is strange and bizarre and weird, because it is. You just showed up here one day. You have no idea what you're doing. It is bizarre, weird, and strange, and it's beautiful. And I think one of the greatest sins is to take life as normal, to take it for granted. Well, I have bills to pay and I have this to do. Yes, you do. But beyond that, and that's why psychedelics are so beautiful to me, it takes you out of that and out of your little bubble, and you see life for what it is. A beautiful, bizarre, strange adventure. And I don't know how I got here, don't know where I'm going, but I know that the love brought me here, and it's still with me. It was one of the most beautiful days of my life. And in retrospect, I felt reborn. Because remember these, when I was in the museum, all these, it felt constricted like a maze. And then at the end, I ran out of the museum, like the guts of the museum spilled me out, like spit me out, and I'm like, ran onto the grass and just lay down there, threw myself there. So it felt like in the beginning, like giving birth, the pain, the maze, the confusion, the noise. Because I was like, planet Earth is so noisy. I felt I was being born and everything was so noisy. And then the museum spit me out like a new person. Because I'm not the same person as I was before I walked into that museum. Yeah, it was a crazy day. Subscribe to the newsletter below. Well, to the channel as well. But the newsletter, this is where I remind you of how strange, crazy, and bizarre life is. It's a beautiful adventure. Don't take it for granted. Sign up below. You're not gonna regret it.